Hi, this is Scott Bradfield. This is the latest episode of Reading Great Books in the Bathtub. We are in the impossible penultimate episode concerning JR, which is impossible. It's just you can't encompass this book except in another book the same size as JR. There's just so much happening. It happens very swift. There's no wasted words in it, as you might think from such a big book. And the plot is just such an escalating nightmare that it just keeps getting funnier and sadder at the same time. I wanted to just summarize a little bit this time. I'm hoping you've all sort of found your characters, you're finding your way through the book, you're trusting the writer a bit because you are going to go through. There's a lot of characters come and go very quickly, and you've got to sort of be ready for them and just take your time and be patient because some of them don't make sense the first time you read through it, but they will make sense, I think, if you read carefully. I was going to focus mainly on reading some passages that I like, and I won't try to summarize everything. So about page 250 is where we start. We have Gibb is in the he's at the train station. Everybody's constantly trying to return these tickets that they bought for the school trip into town, and the guy who runs the ticket agency is always shutting the door on everybody. And the tickets go back to the school, and they're constantly circulating, and JR keeps getting money off it one way or another. And Gibb is on the phone. I believe he's talking to his lawyer. Gibb, like many of the characters in the book, is going through a terrible divorce. He can't see his daughter. He has no money. He's a drunk. And then he's trying to pay money to his ex-wife through some agency, which of course is taking some of the money. So it's become just the nightmare of divorce, which is what Gaddis has been through, and many people, like many of us, have been through. And it's totally illogical, and the anger gets worse, and everyone loses. So he's been going through that. But while he's in the train station, there's some sailor walking back and forth, and Gibb thinks that the guy wants money, and he's lighting a cigarette, and eventually the sailor comes back and says, "Hey, your shoe's on fire." And he looks down, and his shoe's on fire, so he has to take it off. And this is like many of the characters in the book, Bast and him and Dandacephalus and Hyde. They're all running around almost through the rest of this book with mismatched shoes. Gibbs is constantly looking for a shoe to fit the foot that lost the last shoe. And Edward is always looking for shoes. And people's clothes are torn, and Gibbs has got big tears down the back of his pants while they go to school to teach. Everything just gets worse and worse with as far as their clothes until they all look like Beckett characters, really, by the time the book is over. Um, I wanted to read couple passages just that I find funny or sad, usually both. On page 263, we have we're getting to know Tom Eigen, Eigen, and Eigen is the closest to an autobiographical character in the novel. He's a sort of Gaddis type who has written a big novel. The big novel, like the Recognitions, came out and no one read it, and it's about to be reissued in paperback. But Eigen needs to make a living, so he works for this terrible brokerage firm that's run by the Cates and by Moncrief, and he's writing some puff pieces for everybody. And he never has any money. He's always broke, like everybody, and his marriage is falling apart. But he has a child who he loves named David, and David just never stops asking questions. I want to give a little and he also wants to play games. It's just a perfect picture of this kid at this certain age. And the kid wants to play the game, and he always wants to win. So there's a little scene with Tom. He's been approached. His son wants to play this game, and his wife's floating around in the background. And his son comes up with this big Winnie the Pooh type game. He says, "I'm being Rabbit. I beat Mama 4 times being Rabbit." It's 263. "Here, let's wait. There's never any place to sit down. These places are always a mess. Everything's a mess. Mama was Piglet. Do you want to be him or Pooh Papa?" "I just haven't had time to sort it," she said. This is Marion, his wife, holding her glass high, gathering the laundry to an end of the sofa with her free hand. "Did I tell you the Bartletts are separating?" "No." "Here, David, just here. Just put the board on the floor. We'll play here on the floor," he said, spreading the board between his feet, looking up. Maybe he finally had enough of that grinning pair she's painted on everything they own. What about the children? I won Mama 4 times today, Papa. I always win. You don't always win, David. Nobody does. She said he's agreed to move out and get a room in town. He'll come up to see them weekends. She says she just can't live with someone she doesn't respect. He lost his job. You must have heard that. There's a tone in Marion there that she doesn't respect Tom anymore either. Better to go down dignified. Watch your foot, David. Provide here. Sit over here. I want to sit beside you. All right, but don't climb. Now, shake the bag. Really shake it. The kid's cheating, and he's always pulling the numbers out so he can get the colors he wants. Papa, are you being Pooh? Yes. What did you get? I got blue. I go all the way here. You skipped one, David. What? You skipped this blue back here. You're back here. Oh, and I got green. Here. Now really shake the bag. I did. I got red, Papa. If you got black, you'd go all the way there. The kids just, you know how the kids just memorize this game. That's why there are only 2 blacks in the whole bag. Why? To make it harder to get, and I have green again. You only go here. Shall I move you? Yes, now wait, David. I got yellow. I got all the way to no. No, you can't take 2 out of the bag and then decide which one you want and put the other one back. He's trying to teach the kid to play fair. I didn't take 2 out. They just came out. All right then. Put them both back in and shake the bag again. And when you reach in, just take 1. I got yellow anyway, see? I don't even have to close my eyes. Do the rules say you have to close your eyes? Yes, so nobody will be able to. Who made the rules? The people who made the game. That's what a game is. If there weren't any rules, there wouldn't be any game. Now sit up. If you get yellow the next time, you'll get in the heffalump trap. Papa, do I have to close my eyes even if I hold the bag way over here and look over here? Yes, now sit up, David. It's my turn. Papa? What? Papa, was Jesus a regular person? Well, he was a person, yes, but did he grow up to be an Indian? Did he what? Did Jesus grow up to be an Indian? What makes you think that? He has no shirt, and he has those red marks on him. Those are blood, David. You know that. This kid's constantly asking questions. At one point, he's asking if the Chinese watch movies with Chinese people in them. He says, in China, do they watch movies with Chinese people in them or with regular people in them? And he's just constantly asking questions. There's another passage here I wanted to skip to. Shortly after that last passage, we go to Dan DeCephalis' house. And Dan is the one married to a woman named Anne, who's very pretentious, who's quite sort of attractive, but everyone's always saying she's not quite as attractive as Mrs. Joubert. And she's very pretentious and really hates her husband too. There's real animosity there between her and her husband. And Dan is always broke. And Dan DeCephalis has just come back from the hospital covered in bandages with Major Hyde because they got hit by that kid who's actually, there was something mentally wrong with that kid named Buzzy. And Buzzy died. And he comes home and he's trying to get dressed to go back to work. And he has a son named Donnie who's clearly got some issues as well, who thinks he's a machine. And Donnie's constantly trying to sit next to electrical plug outlets because he wants to plug himself in because he's running out of energy. He thinks he's a little machine. And he's clearly something, he's autistic or something. There's something wrong with him. And when DeCephalis comes home, he's trying to find some clothes to wear and he needs some money because he's totally broke. He goes to this drawer where he's kept some money. I had some money put away here in the back of this drawer. It's gone. This is page 314. His wife says, what are you putting money in the back of a drawer for? There was almost $50. It's gone. Nora, come in here. What, Mama? I said, come in here. Daddy says he put some money in that drawer and it's gone. Do you know? Donnie found it. Well, where is it? Get it. He sold it. What do you mean he sold it? He sold it to some boys. He sold it? He didn't know. He thought the coins were better because the others only paper. He sold the fives for a nickel and the ones for 10 cents. Well, why did he, my God, why did he thought the ones were better because they had George Washington. My God. But Nora, what boys? Why didn't you stop him? I don't know, Daddy. Just these boys. I wasn't even here. He got 85 cents. I helped him count after, Mama. He's the bad businessman, is Donnie. He's taking his $50 and turning it to 85 cents. At the same time, Dan goes into the closet to get his clothes. He's got 3 nice suits. And he finds out that they've been given to the thrift store down the road as part of a school benefit. His daughter has given all his clothes to the local thrift shop, and he was supposed to go buy it back, but nobody told him because he was in the hospital. And when he's upset because he has no clothes to wear, his wife's mad because he's not getting involved in his daughter's school activities. And basically, he goes to school afterwards and sees everyone walking around wearing his clothes. But of course, they don't fit anyone else, so they're always getting torn apart. Everybody's going through the rest of the book without the right shoes. Just like Gibbs' shoe catches on fire early in this section, and Edward loses his shoe, and they're always missing and swapping shoes here and there, and the place they're just completely turning into rags. I wanted to skip to one other little brief passage. So Tom Eigen is friends with a couple of artists, one named Schramm, who never shows up really as a character, and Shepperman, who never shows up as a character. Shepperman paints his big, supposedly striking painting in the lobby of the brokerage firm, and the reason why he did it is another one of the subplots I can't go into. But it's a great work of art, and the people around it hate it because it doesn't match the drapes or something. Schramm is a writer who's a bit crazy. He came out of World War II a bit mad, and he's been running around. He has an apartment uptown, a really rundown part of town we're going to hit later. And he's he's gone crazy. He's gotten depressed. He's lost one of his eyes because someone put a pencil through it. And he's trying to kill himself. And he jumps out of Eigen's window. And then he goes off to this apartment that they've been keeping uptown under the name Greenspan. And there's 2 apartments, one that's Gibbs keeping and one that Schramm's keeping. They're right next to each other. And he kills himself because he's another artist who just can't make it through life. In the course of this little narrative, we go to work with Eigen, and he meets a man named Gall. And Gall comes to talk to Eigen. They're in business, in the same business, and he knows Eigen's novel. And I thought I would just read a little passage because this sounds a little bit like the stuff that Gaddis went through with the recognition. It's page 417, and Gall says to him, it's quite a long passage, but just a snippet. He says to him, "You must have known when you were writing your first novel. You must have known you were writing it for a very small audience. Small audience?" His feet dropped. "Do you think I would have worked on it for 7 years just for, do you know what my last royalty check was for, Mr. Gall? Mr. Gall, $53.52. The publisher dropped it cold the day it came out. He must think I wrote it for a very small audience, too." "Yes, I know. I get letters from college kids who have it assigned in their courses. They must be passing 1 copy around. If he'd let me have the rights back, do you think I'd be sitting here now?" "Yes, I know. I've been working on a Western. I can finish if I can get an advance on this book about cobalt or whatever it is for your company. Then with the final payment on the Western, I'll be able to get far enough on the cobalt book to collect the second payment and settle things with the foundation where they're handing out grants to novelists who want to write plays. And this is another frustrated artist, Gall, who's writing this to get this grant, to get this grant. And there's a grant going around, which sounds like probably a real grant, where they're offering novelists money to write plays. And of course, they're novelists. So these guys have to write some play in order to get back to writing their novel. And that's the good part. We go to this crazy apartment that Gibbs has been keeping and Schramm has been keeping. I wanted to read. I'll read some passages from that in the last episode. But this place is the funniest part of the book, and it's basically filled with crap. Everything is broken. All the knobs are coming off all the faucets. Water's pouring everywhere. Junk mail is coming through for the fake names of the people. Greenspan is a fake identity that's been established to rent this apartment. And he's getting junk mail. And then JR starts to use it for an office for Edward. And all the junk that Edward's buying, that JR is buying, such as plastic forks and toilet paper and whatever the stuff he's buying, is all coming in fleets of the stuff. It's just coming into this crowded apartment. And there's a piano in there that Edward needs to use to play, to make his music, and it's covered with crap. And there's a phone constantly ringing, and there's a radio running, it just plays ads that nobody can turn off because it's underneath everything. So it's almost like radio. It's like great radio, and you're in this kind of this mayhem of this apartment. And there's a woman named I forget her name suddenly, but there's a girl next door, or a girl who used to be Schramm's girlfriend, who starts to show up and has an affair with Edward. But finally, I just wanted to do one last little passage in the midst of all of this mayhem as JR starts building his empire. And again, JR's empire is built on junk bonds and crap, and then exploiting everything he buys. So when he buys a little brewery, he tears out the pension fund, and he just, as many of these capitalists do, and uses it to buy more crap. And then he gets the mining rights, and he takes this, and he does this verticalization of every property he buys. He starts off looking at the backs of matchbook covers for get-rich-quick schemes. And of course, well into the development of his empire, he owns a company that makes matchbook covers. These are really complicated, but sometimes very funny passages about the fact that JR is learning the simplest facts of organizing and developing capital, and he's just learning how to cheat. He's learning how to cheat and twist things around and how to do things. And he's trying to offer Edward. He keeps offering Edward options in stock in all his companies because he can't pay Edward, and Edward doesn't have any way to buy the stock. And at one point, Edward has been working on this kind of crappy work. He's doing zebra music for Crawley, who wants to turn all the American wildlife preserves into hunting grounds for rich people so they can hunt zebras and hippos. At one point, there's a typo, and they think they're going to go hunt hippies. so he's making music for some film, and the guy who hires him is a guy named Davidoff, who and like JR and a lot of people, they hired Edward and tried to exploit his talent, and then they started giving him lectures about what a real artist would do. This is a little brief passage here on page 448, and Davidoff's getting upset because he thinks all Edward thinks about is money, and he's not thinking about the grand artistic vision. And if I may even go a bit further to say, it appears that the more others make an effort to help you, Edward, the less effort you seem to make to help yourself. That may sound harsh, but perhaps I failed to make myself clear when we were discussing Trilby earlier, Mr. Bast. Not all of us have been given your unique gifts, and when I feel you're using them to satisfy what has struck me on more than one occasion as an almost unhealthy preoccupation with money, I am bound to tell you so, sir. When you turn these gifts to accomplishing ends any of us are capable of, we are all the losers for it, Mr. Bast. Be content to leave these details of leasebacks and write-offs to us who toil in the vineyards, and look to you to lift our eyes up to the stars while standing in the damn trouser legs sliding down again. There, can you just get it back up for me? He's another guy, his pants are falling off. Yes, Edward says. But you see, I do need money. In fact, I still have some things to straighten out with my associate, and now I'm getting bills for a rapid reading course and tuition at a business college. JR's made Edward take rapid reading courses so he could read all these documents. Yes, of course, all those are deductible. But deductible from what? They're constantly telling Edward he can deduct all these expenses, but Edward's not making any money, so he can't deduct it. Okay, so I'm not going to stop there. Just try to enjoy it. There's some really, really hilarious passages through here, and it just gets better and better, especially when we get into that nightmarish apartment that Edwards is lost in with that girl who's always telling everyone to fuck off. And then everyone's always these pornographic pictures and films are always recirculating and showing up in places. At one point, one of the porno films is shown on the school screens at Whiteback School, at JR School, and I think the the coach, crazy Coach Vogel, is responsible, and he says everyone should be thanking him since he's teaching the kids sex ed. They're showing some porno. Anyway, we'll do one last episode. I can't. I'm gonna be like that apartment. There's so much stuff coming out of my head when I read this book. Bye.